Hey everyone, so this is episode 9 of season 2 of Marco Polo. It's called Heirs, and it kind of like if you watch the episode, you notice that it takes about 20 minutes until the opening credits actually roll. And I didn't know this, so I kind of forgot a little bit that I kind of missed something like that I kind of missed something somewhere, and so I was kind of frantically trying to see if I missed like a few minutes of the opening credit, like a few minutes beforehand, and apparently not. Anyway, so the episode pretty much starts off with Biamba and Marco, watching the orange glow getting closer. It turns out it's a bunch of horses being burned alive as they're running towards something, and as the pair watch this, Niccolo escapes on a horse and manages to ride down to the encampment. And Marco tells Bayamba to just forget him when Bayamba, kind of tries to go after him. But it's like, you know what, forget him. Doesn't matter. Um, then Kublai has, it turns out it's Kublai who has had dozens of horses burning so he could let them loose within Nan and Kaidu's encampment. Um, and Jingham and Kublai watch as the horses run towards the encampment and everything. Um, and then Cuddalon, Oris, and Kaidu are kind of like walking within the camp, and Oris and Cuddalon are arguing about finding the Christian, asking if the Christians had found Marco and his father yet, and they kind of fight about that for like a few minutes before um, Cuddalon realizes his father, or Cuddalon realizes that her father had stopped walking after them, and Cuddalon's trying to say win the challenge and avoid the war, basically because he's like concerned that he's gonna everything's gonna go to shit, which I mean pretty much already has to this point. So I mean, if anything gets worse, then it's not going to be that big of a surprise. But that's just me though. Anyway, then that's when they start not only hearing that like the horses are running towards them, but they're feeling it as well because the ground is shaking because it's so many fucking horses that are running towards the camp, and they try to get everyone away from the black powder, but because that's when they realize that, or at least Kaidu realizes that the horses are running towards the black powder kegs, and so he tries to get everyone away from them, but it's really not successful the because the horse, at least one horse, gets to the a specific black powder keg mountain, because I think there's several in the camp because there's like several explosions. But anyway, it's kind of too late because most, if not all, the black powder kegs get blown up anyways. And so as I'm watching, as they go back and forth between Kublai, the camp, and the horses, and they get to the horses specifically. I'm sitting here thinking like it kind of hurt because I'm a really big animal lover, so because I've was part of an animal uh, welfare club in high school, and I mean I was there. I did that for like 3 years, and then I took like two animal science classes during high school, and so I'm like a really big animal lover. It's just like I don't know. When I was watching that, even though I knew it was most likely CGI, I kind of felt like it was kind of tugging at my heartstrings that these horses were burned alive, even though I'm pretty sure they were CGI. Anyway, I don't know. That was just me. Um, so Bianca and Marco are starting to ride back to Kublai when they hear the explosions, and just go back to riding, and then they just make their way back to Kublai. When they get there, Kublai asks where Marco's father is, and he's like, he escaped. And Kublai's like, well, that's good. fine, it's whatever. Let them burn. Let them burn with them. And then before like Kublai and his army uh, ride toward the camp, he makes his old speech, and then that's when they leave, um, and the whole camp gets ready to fight and everything because they're assuming that Kublai and his army are coming. Um, and so Kaido's like, I want to help, but Nico's like, no, you can't because you have to stay alive for the Kurultai. Um, look, you have to stay um, alive for that whole thing. Um, and Kaido reluctantly leaves before fighting ensues. Oh my god. Okay. Before I actually get to that, that's when fighting ensues in the camp, and Kublai's men start fighting the people in the camp and everything. And so I was like, this is the most adrenaline that's like, because I was starting to get adrenaline rush because I'm just watching these people fighting, and I'm just like, this is the most fighting that I've seen the entire 2 seasons. Like, this is the most fighting between any two groups I've seen in the entire 2 seasons. And so I'm just like, I was like starting to get kind of scared because I was like, I mean, there are people I don't want to see die, and especially Jingham, because I don't want to see his ass die. I mean, Jingham's like one of the most sane people there, besides like Chavi and Marco and Biamba. I mean, he's one of the most sane people there. So, I mean, I'm just like, I was seriously like getting kind of worried, and like adrenaline was pumping through me because I was getting scared because I didn't want some of my favorite characters to fucking die in this battle. And it's just because, and this is like seriously the most this is the most fighting we've literally seen. Like I said, this is the most fighting we've seen between two particular groups in the entire 2 seasons. Like, we've seen some battle, but I mean, after like maybe not even 30 seconds, it ends. So this goes on for like literally 5 or 10 minutes. So it's a lot longer and a lot more blood that you actually fucking see. And this whole fighting scene reminded me of Vikings. If any of you are Vikings fans, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. Because those Viking battle scenes go on for a while as well. So, but I'm used to, like, anybody who's watched Vikings for the last 4.5 seasons knows that it's expected to see at least some fucking battling in an episode. I mean, there might be like 1 or 2 episodes where there isn't battles and blood and stuff, but that's not the norm. The norm is to see a lot of blood and battle in Vikings, and this is the Marco Polo is the polar opposite, where you see a lot of chess game manipulations and stuff like that. It's basically, Marco Polo is basically a chess game. I mean, Vikings is that way too, but you hardly. I mean, it's Vikings is both chess game manipulation and bloodshed, and there's equally of both in that. But this one you see more chess game manipulation than bloodshed, so it's kind of different when you see bloodshed going on for more than like 5 minutes. So it's just like, it kind of gets your blood pumping and everything. So I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? I was not expecting that fight scene to go on as long as it did. And then you see kind of Jingham walking towards Oris and Cutland, and eventually Jingham starts fighting Oris, and Jingham wins, which I love, because I was like, I really don't want him to die, because he's like probably my favorite character so far still. I mean, I will take away his everlasting punk title I gave him in season 1 and say he's my favorite character so far, besides Marco. I mean, well, Marco's kind of getting on my nerves here a little bit, but anyway, he's been getting on my nerves lately, but especially this next scene where Marco lets his father live and run away, and Kublai sees this shit, and I'm just like, why didn't you let him go? I mean, Marco for the most part of season 1 was my favorite character, just because like I could understand his situation, and I could sympathize or empathize or whatever the fuck word you want to use, and so I could understand him, and like, you know, I could understand him like being upset that his father left him there in season 1, and like, so I could understand it. I mean, I can sympathize and everything, but once season 2 started, I was just like, that all went out the damn window, and I don't know, he's starting to increasingly get on my nerves, and Jingo's starting to be more likable. I'm just like, I still love Marco, but I mean, on the other hand, he's getting on my nerves. It's kind of like Floki and Bjorn in Vikings, where Floki's just like increasingly getting on my nerves and annoying as fuck as the seasons go on. And Bjorn is like, you know, he started out being like the everlasting punk of Vikings, but then he started growing on me, and I started liking him more. And it's just, Floki was the opposite way. It's like, it's the same way here with Jingle being the everlasting punk in the first season, and then I started liking him in the second season. And I liked Marco in the beginning of season 1, or in season 1, and then he started getting annoying as fuck in second season. Just like, it's just really annoying. Anyway, on with the episode. So Bianca goes to Nayan's tent with 2 soldiers before Kublai goes to Nayan and says, and Nayan's like, well, I had no choice, and or I had to make a choice, and I chose my faith. Kublai says, well, ask her what God makes him turn his back on blood and turn his son against him. And Nayan's like confused about this, and he says he didn't like, and he says that he didn't recruit Ahmed. Ahmed was the one who recruited me, and brought all this together. And now it starts to say but Kublai interrupts and says dead. And then Nayan's like, well, I'll let you choose how you die, but you're gonna die. There's no question about that. You're gonna die, but I'll let you have the courtesy of choosing how the fuck you want to die. And then Kublai then tells Biamba to take an army and find Ahmed at whatever it takes before Biamba leaves, Kublai grabs his arm and says, "Thank you, my son." Meaning, because I don't think Kublai said that, acknowledged that Biamba was the son, at least publicly. I mean, privately, yeah, he acknowledged it, not acknowledged Biamba as a son, but he's not really, Biamba's considered his bastard son, so he hasn't really acknowledged him like he acknowledged Jingham as his sole heir. So it's kind of nice to see that, because I'm just like, Biamba's been getting kind of the short end of this deck, just like Mei Lin. So I'm just like, go Kublai for a second, like, damn. Anyway, so Kunlun leaves riding on horseback and then it's shown what way Nayan chooses to die, which is on the cross, just like Jesus died, with I guess you could call them stakes through his hands. So there's that. Then you see Nicola walking away from the encampment, but looks back at it one last time before heading through the tree line, and that's when the opening credits come in. So I was like, that was a long opening. That was a long opening credit. I was like, I wasn't expecting it to be that long, but anyway, after the opening credits roll, Kublai is sitting alone when Chavi comes in, telling him that the baby is coming early. And Chavi doesn't like the fact that Kublai is moping around with self-pity, and it's like, she says to him, "Get it together, man, and go support your fucking son that's about to become a damn father. Go support his ass." And it's just, I was like, I really want to, like, I get your, like, yeah, I'm the same with Chavi. So, like, I know your ass is, sad about the fact that Ahmed betrayed you, but come on, you still have two other sons, three if you count Marco. Yeah, two other sons who are actually your fucking blood, and one that actually needs your fucking support right now because his ass is about to become a fucking father. But you want to sit here and mope, and I'm just like, get it together, man, get it together. And then Chavi goes back to Nergui, and she's having trouble, delivering the baby and everything. So she kind of helps with that as much as she can. Then goes to Jingham and Hundred Eyes, talking about the baby, and Jingham reminds Hundred Eyes, like, well, remember when you said you had nothing to offer on marriage before I actually got married? Hundred Eyes says, was this before or after the wine? And I'm just like, I really like Hundred Eyes and his humor. I mean, he's starting to become more humorous, and I'm just like, I like that. He's like I'm gonna be making a lot of references in this episode, but Hundred Eyes reminds me of Sergeant Wu in Grimm, because Sergeant Wu is like the humor guy in Grimm, so it's just like he kind of reminds me of Wu with the one-liners and everything. So I don't know. That's just for the Grimm fans who are like me, who love Grimm. So anyway, Marco then asks if he can come in, and Chicken lets him in, and it's like, Marco asks where Kublai is, and it's real, he's still in the seclusion. But then Kublai comes in like 2 seconds later, to, I guess, play chess. Nagui is still having trouble pushing the baby out, and so she, and then Kublai is like playing chess with Hundred Eyes, or it looks like it's chess, an early form of chess or something like that. And when he's done, he says, "Let me play with somebody. Let me play against someone who's not blind and not a foreigner." And so basically, he plays with Jingham. He talks of having a child changes things, and especially a boy, because it secures the future for heirs and everything. Kublai also says something along the lines of the baby is of his blood. Like, too bad. I'm saying the thing like, too bad the baby isn't actually fucking his. So Kublai continues on to say stuff like taking in other kids besides their own biological ones is not worth it. Anyway, so Nagui finally delivers the baby, and it's a girl. And it seems like she's done delivering, but then she starts feeling pain again, and so really there's another baby. So she's having twins. Whether it's fraternal or identical twins, who knows? Then at this point, Nagui asks for Marco to come in and help her, and so Chabi leaves, goes to the tent where the men are, and tells them there's a healthy girl, but then another one comes. And before she leaves, she asks Marco for a word alone, and Jacob's like, "You want a word with him, but not me." Chabi says, "Boy, I just gave you a fucking word on your baby, so shut the fuck up and leave me alone." She didn't say leave me alone, but she basically says shut the fuck up and just like get it together, boy. And then when the pair leaves, Hundred Eyes says perhaps he wants to boil some water. I'm just saying, Kublai is like get in. Kublai tells him to get out, and I was sitting here laughing my ass off, because I'm just like, there goes the whole woo one-liner things in here. I'm just like, and then Jingham is wondering if there's something he isn't aware of, and I think Kublai says something like, "Of course there is," or something like that. I don't know. Back in Nagui's tent, though, Marco holds her hand, and she asks him to promise that he will always come when she calls. And he eventually does promise, and she says all she has is his word, and he replies back that his word is all she ever needs. And as Chavi watches it becomes clear that she realizes that there was a relationship, whether it was sexual or romantic or both, on their part. And it previously happened before she got married, or maybe even after she got married. Who knows? But who knows what she thinks? But this is what Chavi. It's pretty clear Chavi realizes this. And then it goes back to Jingham, and he's all upset that Marco is with Nugui and the child, but Kublai says it doesn't matter because he's the son of the Khan, and that he's gonna have an heir. So it's then Biamba comes back and tells Jingham and Kublai that Ahmed is hiding in Khan Block. Kublai asks why Ahmed's scout isn't hanging from Biamba's belt, and Biamba explains that Ahmed is ruling the city in Kublai's name. And Biamba further explains that thousands of people are stuck outside the city walls, and no one is allowed in or out, and with the walls sealed. And Jingham's like, it's a coup. But Biamba explains that the soldiers still believe they're acting under Kublai's orders and gave them the authority to do this. And Kublai says, well, I pretty much did give them the authority because Ahmed is the vice regent. Biamba then says Ahmed has cut off all communication with nothing to contradict his orders. Kublai says, well, the only thing that can contradict his word or his orders is him himself, and says that he will show up and make them stand down. But Jingham objects to this because the cruel tie is almost here. It's like in the next few days, or in like a week. And so Kublai doesn't really care about that, but Jingham explains that all Kaidi needs is one vote to turn the overall vote in his favor. And Kublai going to Khan Block is a way to do just that, which makes sense in my opinion. But anyway, Jingham explains that since Ahmed hasn't actually taken the throne from Kublai as of yet, that he'll go Kublai's place and deal with it. Then the next baby Nugui delivers as a boy, so the fraternal twins, as of right now, they're definitely fraternal twins. Biamba then says he will go back with Jingham to take back the throne. Marco is given one of the babies until Nugui is ready. And then Nugui whispers to in Jingham's ear that the babies aren't Jingham's, which is like, okay, there's that. I'm waiting to see what happens in episode 10 in the season finale about what that actually means, or if that's going to be brought up before the end of episode 10. Who knows if it's actually going to? But if it doesn't if it's not brought up by next episode, and it's definitely going to be brought up in season 3, and I can't wait for that. Then Jingham and Kublai walk in, and Kublai tells Marco that his service is complete and to get out because this whole thing is for family only, or blood only. And then back in Khan Block, you see Ahmed sitting on his throne in kind of shadow. And that's the whole end of the episode. I'm gonna make the prediction that I'm gonna keep making these predictions as far as sorry, I got a message from someone. Anyway, so basically, I'm gonna keep making these predictions. Some of them are gonna be, I think, will end up being, some of them I think will end up spilling over into season 3. One of them I think is gonna definitely be by end of next end of episode 10. So I'm gonna get into my predictions. The one that I think is gonna end up coming true by the end of episode 10 is Ahmed dying. Um, so I think that's gonna end up coming true because they pretty much did the same thing with Sadao, where I thought he was gonna end up dying by a certain point, but he ended up definitely being killed at the by the season finale. Um, so I definitely think that Ahmed is gonna die by the end of this by the end of episode 10. If not, then I think he's most definitely gonna be dead by the season 3, episode 5. So there's that. And I also, so I mean, that could definitely be going into season 3, but I personally think it's gonna end up coming true in episode 10 of season 2. So that's what I think is gonna happen. Also, okay, so the other two that I think are gonna end up being revealed in season 3, because I don't think they're gonna end up revealing it next episode, but who knows? I mean, it just seems unlikely that these two are gonna end up coming true by episode 10. So the first one is I think Ngui's parentage, real parentage, her and aka her not being the real blue princess is gonna end up coming to light in a big way in season 3, possibly even the first episode of season 3. That could possibly happen in next episode, episode 10. Just so that they have kind of like a cliffhanger as to where you wonder what's gonna happen with Ngui in season 3. But I don't think if it hasn't happened by this episode 9, then I don't think it's gonna happen in episode 10. So that's why I think it's gonna end up happening in season 3 rather than season 2. The next prediction is I think Marco is gonna end up getting the Sheree woman from earlier pregnant. I think that's what's gonna happen. I think that's gonna end up happening in season 3 rather than the next episode. It still could happen, and you still wonder what is gonna happen to Marco because he had sex with a woman before he was allowed to have sex with a woman by Kublai and everything. So that still could happen in the next episode, but I don't think so. Just like with the Ngui parentage being found out, I think those two are just gonna end up being for next season. Because like I said, if it hasn't happened so far, I just don't think it's gonna happen by the season finale or within the season finale. So there is that. And that's all the predictions I have. Those are the same 3 I'm gonna keep. For now. And I will see you tomorrow in the last episode of season 2, and tell you what I think of the whole season finale. Until then, like this episode if you like this episode. Hit subscribe if you want to see more of my videos when I upload them. And please do not hesitate to comment in the comment section below to discuss with me what you thought of the whole season, both seasons 1 and 2 up until this point, and what you guys think of my predictions. And until then, I will see you guys later. Bye.